ask everyone at this time to please arise. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you all so much for coming. At this time, we'd really like to celebrate the life of Angela Lynette Shah. We are excited to hear all of the parts of Angela's life. Each one of you, she touched differently, and you know a few different things than anyone else in the room. These are the things we'd like you to bring to all of our knowledge so we can share that together, that we can know all of the life, the wonderful life that Angela lived. And so at this time, we're going to start with Memories of Angela, and we ask that all of you help us celebrate and know the wonderful and beautiful life that she lived.
I'll start. My name is Cheryl Ann Tolman Biggs, and I am one of 8. Angela is 6 of 8. And I'd like to start off with the beginning of her life and her name. Angela was the perfect name. She was an angel here on earth from the very beginning. She made us wait for 1 whole month, and she made our mom go through an extra month of pregnancy in the summertime. But that was Angela. She did things on her own time. And just a side note, before I go on with her life, she would go in the corner before dinner, and we had long drapes at the time, and we would come and sit down, and we would pretend that she wouldn't be there, and then she would flip open the curtains and go, ta-da! And that was her life. Angela means God's messenger. Lynette, and I heard Diana, her daughter, is studying French. Lynette is a French name that was given to women of noble birth of French descent. And so I think it's apropos that Diana is learning French. But it means elegant, pretty one, and that defines Angela. Angela was always elegant in everything she did, from blessing our lives right from the very start, because she wasn't a doormat. When I say elegant, I mean noble woman. My dad had a track record of 100% knowing what the sex of the baby was. Back in the 70s and early 80s, no one knew, but my dad knew, except with Angela. And when she came out and it was a girl, and we were all thrilled, especially me, she let my dad have it. She gave him the what for as a newborn until he did a certain amount of mea culpas. And then she was fine. But she was always a snuggle bug. If you can imagine being a baby that was an extra month in the tummy, she had rolls on rolls. But she was so gushy cute. And me being 10 years older, I would hurry and run home from school, and my mom would, first thing she would say, have you washed your hands, and do you have a pure heart? And of course I would say, I have a pure heart and clean hands. And I would want to gush her, just gush her, because she was so cute and cuddly. And I got to, with 8 children, well, 6 at the time, and my parents knowing that teenage years were coming along, we lived in a split level. And so my dad started building on the garage part. And so I got to share a room with Angela for almost 2 years. She being 3, me being 13, and she was the best roommate ever. So she was not the little sister that was poking at me. She was wonderful. In fact, my dad would come in, and at Saturday night I would have the radio listening to Casey Kasem Top 40, and Angela would never ever tell on me. My dad had to find out on his own. So she was the best roomie. She was always serving. So I have to tell you a little bit about my knowledge of and looking through. So when we got our own rooms, the first 4 got our own bedrooms, and the last 4 shared a bedroom, and she was always serving Matthew, Nathan, and Jason. So they would go out on Saturday mornings and watch cartoons, but she was the one that would get them breakfast. And she was very much a little mother to them and was always serving them in her elegant way. When I became a mom for the first time, Angela was 13 years old. I had Catherine, and she was the best aunt that Catherine had, really. And she would take Catherine, and she would play with her and got to know her and fiddle with her. And as Catherine was growing up, we would, 3 of us, be walking out in public, and people would always assume that I was the mother and they were the sisters. And it used to crack Angela up so much because she loved the fact that she was more in tune with Catherine than with me. So she loved to poke at me in her elegant way. And she loved to travel, and she made sure that my mom was taken care of because my mom loved to travel. They were travel buddies. And I have to make a poignant thought from my mom. When Angela was a baby, they had this tradition that she would wake up in the early morning and my mom would just gush her like she was so gushable, and she would say, "My precious." And that was Angela's first word, precious. So, Angela's precious, precious and elegant. Now, at the beginning of November, she sent out advent calendars to everybody. So, when she passed, and the beginning of December, everyone got to remember Angela each and every day. Not just me, the siblings, but her nieces and nephews, and her grandnieces and nephews. So every single day, they would say, Angela, and we would remember Angela. And in her elegant way, we are always remembering Angela. Being the big sister, I was always 10 years older, and so I was going through all of life's lessons, half a generation more than Angela, except when it came to childbirth. Angela, when she was pregnant with Victor, called to tell me her wonderful, fantastic news. And I was shocked because I was just about to call her with my wonderful, fantastic news of being pregnant with David when I had a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, and 16-year-old already. And so we got to go through our mommy process together. And then when Diana and Jacqueline were born, we were thrilled that they were both girls also. And we call them the fearsome foursome. And they get along fantastically. And so this is when she eclipsed me in life. She helped me through being an older mom and having joy and friendship, true friendship with our families. And I'm so grateful that I have Victor and Diana and Ronak in my life. And this is her best legacy, her elegant legacy. Now, since November 20th, I've been thinking daily about her. And I have all of these notes, but I'm going to leave you with a funny story. So this is according to my mom also. When she and Ronak were living in London, Ronak was punting them down is it the Thames or the Tame?
The Charles. No.
No.
It's the River Cam in Cambridge.
In Cambridge. Cam in Cambridge. So he's punting them along, and here comes this duck, and so he stops for the duck, and Angela says, just flick water on the duck, just let the, just tell the ducky you want it to go. Well, the duck whips his head back, looks at Angela, and goes off and tells his friends. So friends come along, and Mom says it was so cartoonish because they would snap at Angela, and they would turn around and be this big, cartoonish, cute self and love up my mom, and then they would go around the boat again, and they would snap at Angela. And so she had an adverse relationship with birds. So, and it wasn't enough. They're slowly going down the river. Here comes a swan. And the duck, not having enough of it, told the swan. And so the swan comes around and does the same thing with Angela, just starts nipping at her, comes around and is bright and cute and Disney-esque for my mom. And my mom thought that was the most fantastical thing that she had ever seen, because they were letting Angela know that they were not to be messed with whatsoever. And in the last 5 years, we have had our struggles with health issues, and we had a sisterhood there with cancer, and telling Ronak that we're strong women, we can get through it, and we're bold and all of that. And she went through hers with grace and elegance, and she fought and she won her battle. And I don't want to leave that legacy. I want to leave the legacy of her living life to the fullest, of her traveling the world and spreading her elegant, pretty self everywhere, making an advent of life that everyone can enjoy. And I want to leave with Victor and Diana, because I feel like this is where people who come up, this is such a good thing for them, because it gives us a spherical look at Angela through every facet. And so I invite everyone else who would like to come up to give their thoughts and their love. And I love you, Mom and Dad, and thank you for raising such a beautiful, wonderful daughter. And thank you, Ronak. She chose well. And her best legacy is Victor and Diana. Thank you.
This is my lovely wife, Cheryl. First, I actually want to share some words to Victor and Diana and Ronak. As most of you probably can tell, we're pretty close to them. And we have the great fortune in our lives of being able to have a brother-in-law, sister-in-law, a nephew, and a niece that we really count as family. These are people that have enriched our lives, who have made our lives better. We hope that we've done something for them. And I have to share this because in our family, we're pretty open. We talk about everything. I know not all families are like that, but we talk about the difficult stuff and we talk about the fun stuff. And since this is a day to celebrate Angela and celebrate her life, I want to celebrate the fact that Angela, probably almost everyone here who's ever met her knows how much she loves other people. But what I don't think people always realize is how deep her strength is, the strength within her. It's something I learned through my wife and through Angela, that there is this never-ending reservoir that just, no matter what the conditions are, no matter the circumstances, she always reached down inside. In the last couple of years, we've had some pretty exciting and challenging moments, as my wife alluded to, with cancer and other things. More importantly, we got to celebrate Cheryl's mom's 80th birthday. We got to celebrate her father's 90th birthday. And even though Angela was struggling and was going through deep pain and difficulty, her love and her service to her family was impeccable. She thought of everyone but herself. That is how I always remember Angela. The very first time I met her, I see Candy's over there, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. The very first time I met her, it was probably... Oh, microphone's gone, I'll just talk louder. The very first time I met Angela was shortly after I met my wife. And we were at the house, and Angela was baking cookies. Now you have to understand, I'm a guy who likes food. And I'm not really sure why she was doing it that night. I'm not sure what the purpose was. But I do remember how much joy I saw in her making these cookies for everyone else. Not for herself, but for everyone else. And that was the true Angela that I have always seen. She has always thought about everyone else. And she has done things to lift others and make their life good, and to make their life great. So in memorial of that, Victor, always remember the gifts your mom has given you, because you share that. And Diana, remember the strength that she had and the strength you have within yourself, because she's given you those gifts. And we've seen them as we've watched you guys grow up. For most of you, you know how awesome Ronak is. If you don't, just ask her. I remember the first time that I met Ronak, and I'm a pretty calm guy today. I was pretty rambunctious and boisterous, and I made more noise than Cheryl's entire family. And I remember the first time that I met Ronak, it was the first man I had ever seen Angela with who I could sense could keep up with her. And was also the first man I could sense brought the best out in her. And as your brother, you know how much I love you. I will always love Ronak and Angela and Victor and Diana. They are great. They're great as a family. And even though she's gone physically, she is not gone. Her spirit is here. Her spirit will always be with you and in you. All of you. Her love is there in you. And her strength is there. And you guys' lives will be immeasurably blessed because Angela was your mom and your wife. And for the rest of you, I want you to always remember Angela's example of love. And if we can all be just a little bit like her, the world will be a better place. And I leave my heart and to Angela, let her know how much I appreciate her as a brother.
Hi, I'm going to read. I'm Ariel, third of 8, Angela's second oldest sister. I'm going to read because I don't know if I can trust my memory, let alone how things come out. Angela came blazing brightly into the world on August 23rd, 1977. I was 6.5 years old, and I was so excited to have another sister. We were beating the boys. It was really joyous. She was so happy all the time as a baby. Her first word might have been precious. She called her name Lala, which is what stuck as her nickname, joining alongside Snooky, Tuffy, Ten Toes, Tweedums, and Kumquat. And the rest of the nicknames for the kids in the family. She was such a gift to us all. In our growing family, she was sunshine, she was help. In so many ways, she was a giver like I still have never seen or known. Her goal seemed to be happiness. She herself was happy and wanted to spread it around. She lifted burdens. She had us older kids a bit worried sometimes when she'd ask us to take her on as a servant for the day or even longer. We worried that she wouldn't stand up for herself as she got older. We worried about us taking advantage of her, let alone other people. She was kind, she was generous. She turned out all right. My worries were in vain. She does have a good, strong backbone and could stand up for herself as service-oriented and as giving and as caring and as loving as she is and always was. She would naturally look for the win-win situations. So she was never down. She was always building up. She was always looking for the best. It's not that she wasn't competitive, though, because actually she did have a very strong competitive streak that she kept kind of on the down low. I know that she was able to best anybody to her own satisfaction, and I'm proud of her for doing so, and also for not making a big deal about it, because the goal was to be the best herself, to have the best of herself, and also bring out the best of others as well. She found a great guy who clearly recognized her awesomeness, and his face would light up every time he was with her, every time he see her, every time he'd think of her. And she brought to the world 2 super cool, and let's just say it, quite magical kids who are growing tremendously and who match her own brightness and have a wide world to share it with. I'm so glad to have been her sister. She's a fantastic sister, just as she's a fantastic everything. She was always sensitive to the other side and had a lot of experiences that I hope she shared. And if you want stories, ask any of us. I'm sure she shared a few with us, which is why we can say with confidence that she'll be with you, and I hope that you'll be able to have and experience some of those gifts from the other side as well. I'm thankful for all my family. I'm thankful that I'm a part of it. I'm so thankful for the sister she was growing up, for the sister she was all grown up, for the family that she's a part of, for the family she joined, the one she created, for the family that she made of everyone who knew and loved her. I'm so thankful to be part of a small part of the better world she created around herself wherever she was. I'm thankful for the chances she was given to fight her illness and for the successes that she had to get well and to live as well as she could. I think we're all, to sum up, I think we're all the better for having known her, and I'm sad that the world is a little more dim today, but so thankful for the light that she's added and that's left behind. Thank you.
I'm Connor. I'm the son of Angela's late brother Lawrence, who was 2 of 8. I don't have too many memories of my Aunt Angela, but I would like to share one, and then some words of encouragement for Victor and Diana. Growing up, as you all know, Angela wasn't a very tall person. And growing up, of course, little kids, we were all short, right? But we were little kids and we were growing fast, and I don't think she liked that much. Every time we would see her, she would lean over and say to me, "Connor, you're getting too tall. You need to stop growing. You better stop that growing." And after not too long, I think I was probably a young teenager when I was taller than her, she would look up at me a little bit and say, "You're getting too tall. You better stop that growing." And I would look back down to her and say, "Well, you know what? Maybe I'm not growing. Maybe you're shrinking. You better stop that shrinking." But Victor and Diana, I've shared a couple of stories with you guys already, but speaking from experience, I want to give you guys something to look forward to. You'll feel her around. There will be things that you'll notice, and they'll be very specific to you and your relationship with your mom. She'll show up in your life at times when you need her, at times when you're least expecting her. She'll always be around. But the big thing that I wanted to share with you is something to look forward to is as you guys grow and get married and have kids, the times that you'll feel her closest is when you're holding your children in your arms and they smile past your shoulder and they giggle and you just think, "Oh, Mom's making a joke, isn't she?" She's there. She will be there, and she will be there as your kids come into this world. She will hold their hand and she will guide them. And I want you guys to keep that in mind and have that as something to look forward to. That she'll always be there.
Sorry, give me a sec. Well, it's time to hear from the younger half of the family. So, with my parents' 8 kids, the older 4 had 3 girls and 1 boy. The younger 4 had 3 boys and 1 girl. And now, the older side has lost their 1 boy, the younger side has lost their 1 girl. So the 3 youngest are boys now, the 3 older are girls. Angela was, I could never get away with calling her my little sister because she was short, but in every other way she was a big sister. She only had 2 younger siblings and I'm one of them. But you know, she was a great older sister. Now, I had a few things to mention, but my mind's blank at the moment. Well, growing up, one thing that really set Angela apart for me, and I don't know if the other siblings are aware of this, my mother might remember, but yearly we would take trips to either Idaho to visit my father's side of the family or New Mexico to visit my mother's side of the family. New Mexico was a significantly longer drive, and so we got there much less frequently. Angela would put together care packages for my mom's mom. And it's just something that she did that I never saw any of my other siblings do. I never even thought of it, but my mom's mom lived alone. We had aunts and uncles in the area that would visit every day, but she lived alone, and Angela would put together packages and with my mom's help send them to my grandmother. And that, it has stood out to me my whole life. And my wife has observed that Angela was just unbelievably thoughtful. She really was. She thought of other people all the time. And that just doing that, well, it kind of made me jealous because my grandma would send her care packages right back, full of candy and toys and cool stuff. I'd be like, why didn't she send me any? Because you didn't send her anything. And, but yeah, no, that was Angela. Very caring. In fact, you know, as we sort of grew older, I took a lot of my cues about how to be a teenager from Angela. She was 2.5 years older than me, which put her 3 years ahead of me in school. So when she was a senior in high school, I was a freshman. At lunchtime, though, as a freshman, I didn't know my way around, didn't really have anybody to sit with, but Angela had a very specific place that she sat every day at lunchtime. And she made sure I knew that I was always welcome to hang out with her and her friends. And many times I did, because it was a place where I just felt included, a place where I felt like I knew people. She provided that for me. She really looked out for me. And I also want to say that I firmly believe, I know James and the others have alluded to this. Not only do I believe that people attend their own funerals, and they deserve to see that they are mourned, so don't hold back on the tears. Angela, this is a tremendous loss, and she deserves to know that she's mourned. But I also firmly believe that, quite specifically, what's been said already, I believe that our departed loved ones not only can, but they will drop in and visit us. we might be missing her, but she's not missing us. She will visit us. I am certain she already has. And while I think she misses being able to give the hug or be the hand to hold, she gets to drop in and visit us. And I think Victor and Diana will feel that. Ronak will feel that if they haven't already. You'll feel it. If you suspect it, it's probably happening. She's visiting. But you know, as has also been told, she's got company on the other side. We lost a brother in 2015. We lost a very close uncle a few years back. So just like I had somebody to sit with at lunchtime in high school, she's got familiar faces on the other side. And so yeah, I do. I believe she isn't missing us the way we miss her. And if I can be bold enough to speak on her behalf for a moment, I think she would say, don't let this set you guys back. You know, I understand, it's sad, I wish I could be there, but we're gonna be back together at some point. I'm here, I'm watching you, I'm fine. I think she would tell us all she's just fine right now. And even though she deserves to be mourned, I think she would want us to not, you know, when we lose people, some of us might go through this phase where we're maybe laughing or doing something we enjoy, and we think, wait, I just lost somebody. How can I be enjoying myself? And I think she'd say, no. Enjoy yourself. You know, don't let this be an obstacle for you. You know, you've got a life to live. We'll see you again someday. Don't worry about it. Keep aspiring, keep growing. And I'm so grateful for the quantity we have in this room. She was very loved, and I'm surprised I could keep it together throughout this. Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. Well done, Ethan. I hadn't really prepared anything. I'm not really good at speaking in front of people, so bear with me. We all know, as her siblings, and a lot of Angela has already been said, so it's kind of hard to speak after these predecessors. Angela, like they said, Angela's just always been Angela. We've all been our own people, as siblings to each other, and it wasn't all fun and games growing up, and embarrassing at times to be from such a large family. And I knew that it was really discouraging sometimes, because nobody comes from a family of 8. But the synchronicity with the 4 girls and a boy, and then a girl and 3 boys. I'm 4 of 8, which kind of puts me in the middle. But yeah, now it's even. The girls on the older and the boys on the younger. Go. But that just means they have a good handle on how to treat their wives. So please let us know.
Um, as Angela was growing up, a dear friend of hers, Candy, was always by her side, and I've got days of stories about them too. But I have also a lot of days of stories of it just Angela and I was lucky enough to have her as a sister in a way that I don't know why. As she got older in her teens, used me as a point in growing up, as she took cues and would always borrow clothes of mine, and her and Candy, she was so excited to show me some pictures of her and Candy that they had gone to the photo shop together, and they were excited about that. And when I saw the photos, I was a little concerned because, well, isn't that my necklace? Isn't that my, isn't that my, but she thought that was cute and I laughed anyway, and just one of those stories. And we all have stories of Angela and just the sweet life that she was. And in one way, she'll always be missed is that she was such a giver. And if anybody had an event coming, happening, she'd always be there at a baby shower, or even if it was someone's new home or a new baby, she was always there at the hospital. She was always there at the beginning of everybody's knew everything. And if she wasn't there, it was always a gift, or a long phone call, or she was always looking out for everybody. I know that's been said before, but I can't tell you enough how I'm gonna miss giving her a call, at night, and you're just talking to sister stuff. How you doing? And I'm sorry I missed your phone call and what's going on and stuff like that. I realized that it was difficult for her when she went through this last couple of years, but she always had a smile on her face, and she always, well, in her voice anyway, she tried not to be a lodestone to anyone about the trials that she was going through. You'd never know. I'm grateful to be in this family, and even though difficult growing up, it's been a blessing having so many siblings that not everybody has. It comes from a large family, and the background that we have, the parents, we were lucky to have come into their lives. I know my husband Edmund is not from a big family, so he sees all the time how special each and every one are, and I keep in touch with a lot of them for the most part. Yeah, not for the most part. I really enjoy keeping track of them and writing them letters, or just, I don't know, Edmund, he's not close, but it gives me joy to have known Angela, to have had her as a little sister, and how many times that I feel like she has saved me. I'm becoming a visitor in Boston, and times that I have needed her, she's really come through. And I'm gonna miss that. I didn't see her all the time as much as Charlotte and James did. But she had she was always, Charlotte nailed it. She was always dainty. She always did things, like with her petite size, everything was just elegant. It was just right. It was just, it was angelic. The things she wore, she was just, I don't know, it touched in a way that she glowed. It didn't matter where she went. You just knew that you were happy and you were okay. And as long as Angela was around, and she could always, I had a wonderful time working with her one summer, and it seemed like everything was a game to her in certain ways. And she and I were thick as thieves that summer. We joined at the hip, and it was just so much fun with Angela around, because she can make you smile, she can make you laugh out of nowhere. It's the funniest thing. I'll really miss how just a single word, play on words or whatever. Angela was really good at that, making sure you felt like you had her whole person, for her whole being was for you and your well-being. And there's not very many like that, not very many people I know that are like that. She's still in the family. And I don't know what more to say. It's just a light has come. Everything's pretty much been cut shut. But thank you for all being here. I love you, Angela.
My name is Rupak Shah, Ronak's brother, younger brother, and I am the son of Ramesh and Kokila Shah. Angela is my sister-in-law. This is a celebration of life. I do my best, but just when I think of Angela, I really think of how improbable, how not probable someone like her would be. That she would meet someone like Ronak, that she would be the way she is, beautiful, elegant, noble, that she would be from such an amazing family. And I'm just going to give you some little pieces of family history, just to give you an idea of how amazing her life was, the way she lived her life, but also just her existence. Just a little background. My dad was born in a village in India. You know, he and millions of other people, no money, no running water, no medicine, nothing. He was one of 6. My mom grew up maybe in a well-to-do family, textile business family. They met. When my parents met, they had the right to say yes or no whether they wanted to get married. And we're talking about Angela's height. My dad insisted that my mom take off her slippers and stand in front of a mirror to make sure that he was taller than her. Because, you know, he was poor, and I'm sure he wanted to marry a rich girl, but he's not going to marry someone short. And I sometimes say to myself, man, if my dad was a little shorter or my mom was a little taller, we would not be here. These 2 young, beautiful kids would not exist. I wouldn't exist, but I mean, you know, I can get over that. But, you know, I'm gonna thank you for laughing. I thought I was going to start crying and burning the tissues here. My mom wanted to get the heck out of India. You know, she saw her future and decided it did not involve cooking in the house all day long. She wanted to come to America, and she did it with my dad. She chose poverty over that other option in India. And poor they were, and they made it, and they got a nice middle-class life, and they managed to make sure my brother and I got a good education. And man, Ronak, smart guy. Angela was always in all of his mental energy. It's I don't think I got it. I say that humbly. She was just, hey, he's got something going on, man. Like, his concentration's like a faucet. He can turn it on and off. You know, he chose Boston University, which was great because Angela's best buddy, Candy, went to Boston University. So happy you both went to Boston University. You know, changed just a little bit of that, you know. I mean, we'll have to find out from Candy whether she had some other financial patent aid packages somewhere else, and if it was better if she would have gone somewhere else, because if that happened, we would not be here. But they met. Once she was introduced to the family, it just worked. You know, I mean, just to imagine a girl that grew up in Utah and a guy that grew up in America who was the son of an Indian villager. She could go anywhere and be confident and be graceful and be elegant. Really amazing. She was funny. She was cool. Even in little ways. I still remember one time I was in the car with Victor. He was a little baby. He was in his car seat. And a truck went by. And the word cargo was in it. Who knows what the name of the company was. So she turns around. She turns over to Victor and says, "Victor, cargo beep beep." And she pokes you in the belly, and you started giggling. Cargo beep beep, man. You know, she saw an opening and she took it. You know, like, why would I let the opportunity to make a little joke like that pass? Being able to take the lettering on a car and turn it into something momentarily beautiful. She was good at that. She was good at that. She did things really good. She was good at everything. It seems like. She lived well, she married well, she raised kids well. But I gotta say, when I do talk to my friends, whether they're Indian or not Indian, whatnot, the thing that really stands out to me is she was in St. Louis with Ronak, with the kids, had a nice life, had a friend network. Some of those friends are here, of course, because everywhere she went, she made friends and got some new loved ones. But they had a nice setup, had a really cool house and a nice, it was like right out of a TV show. You had nice street, trees on the side of the road. You could walk or bike over to the downtown area, Dewey's Pizza, right? Ice cream place, the library. You can just, everything that you needed in the world was there. And she and Ronak decided, you know what? Why don't we try Houston and make this scrap metal thing work? Who knows what happens? If it doesn't, it doesn't work out. You know, things happen in life. She stepped away from that comfort of Kirkwood, Missouri, and she went down to Houston, and she and Ronak made it happen. Kind of a minor point now, you know, you don't take anything with you. But she, you know, if there is such a thing as defending your life in the afterlife, if that is a real thing, oh, she's going to breeze right through that. Yeah, really impressive. Just, my parents were always so proud that she was their daughter-in-law. And I say daughter-in-law because I'm in an American funeral home. She was their daughter. It was just amazing and improbable. Again, that's two random people from India came to America, raised two kids of their own, and got to enjoy the company and the of someone like Angela. But you know, I will just say though that she probably owes some of her beauty and her amazingness and awesomeness to the fact that she was a Tolman. You know, she talked about the Tolmans all the time. I love the stories. I mean, they were interesting, different. Different upbringing. I mean, you know, as Utah, I got to tell you, as outsiders to the Mormon religion, you know, my parents, I mean, we don't know. We do not know about that stuff. I think there was a 60 Minutes piece on it once. This is in the 90s, I think, and you can probably look it up. But other than that, if you're Indian and you're in America, you would not know about Mormonism. You know, my parents got a little bit of the details. Oh, she's nice. Oh. Her parents are nuts. Oh, her dad's a professor. Oh, they don't drink or smoke. They don't do this. They don't do that. Oh, they get to go travel the world and go be missionaries. Oh, they can just go anywhere and meet people? Man, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. All right. That's how fast it was. And frankly, if you met her, it didn't matter what she was. She was just an amazing person. But she was notable because the Tolman family is honorable. And maybe the greatest example of that is her brother, Matt. You know, I got no idea how you feel, buddy. But just the honor, man. The absence of hesitation, you know? And if you're saying, hey, she's my sister, of course I was going to do that, that's because you're a Tolman. So, and you have honor, and it's beautiful. And even with all that beauty, you know, it's easy to fixate on the fact that she was taken and robbed and this never should have happened. But, you know, what a cool sister-in-law. And just glad my daughter got to spend some days with her in early May when Victor was having his graduation ceremony, one of his graduation ceremonies. And, you know, she'll meet my son in the afterlife. But thank you, everybody. She really was beautiful. And, you know, we will, this side of the family, which I have some control over, we will always celebrate her life. And we will always remember her. And the offspring will always know that Angela Lynette Tolman Shah existed and lived beautifully.
So I will say, this is going for a bit, which is awesome, and I don't want to stop it, but feel free to get up and go to the bathroom.
Hello, I am Catherine, so I am the oldest niece on the Tolman side, so I'm the eldest child of the number 1 out of 8 child. So I'm the one that's 13 years younger than Angela, who she helped babysit, and as she loved to tell me, would hold me over a plastic bag and just let me kick it, because that was enough to keep me entertained. She really, really liked telling me that story. Welcome to my aunt's celebration of life. She was full of it. Full of life. And I know she would want us to be celebrating her. And she had an excellent sense of humor. And didn't like being a downer. And was really good at having a great big smile on her face. I love my aunt. We had a lot of fun together. I have done a lot of schooling over the years and moved around to a bunch of different states, and somehow she and I were always within traveling distance of each other. And so while she was living in St. Louis and I was living in Columbus, Ohio, I would go and visit her. And sometimes I actually saw her and her family more often when I lived in Ohio than I saw my own family. And when she was living in Houston, I was living in Fort Worth, Texas. And so we had a lot of fun going back and forth. And my relationship with her has always been like that. And one of my favorite things with her has been talking and plotting. Yes, excellent. Yes. Laughing was the best thing with her. And talking about traveling and enjoying life. And in the past few weeks, the universal law of opposition has been on my mind, in that to know good one must know evil.
to know joy in the midst of sorrow. And she's one who knew those things. She lived this life fully and to its fullest extent. And to do so, she knew all of those things, and she chose the better part. She chose the good, and she chose the joy. And she was strong. And she took the evil and the sorrow with it, and conquered it, and gave us an excellent example. And we'll miss having her and her awesome sense of humor. I'm really going to miss plotting with her, quite frankly. We had some really good plots in play, okay? We had some cool trips planned, actually. So, more on that, TBD. But I just want to say, please, in her honor and in her memory, make sure you continue to celebrate her and smile and laugh and remember the good and wonderful things she brought to us. As been said before, it's okay to cry because we miss her. But she really, really wanted us to be happy and to know that she was at peace. And I know that she really was. And she extends all of her love to all of you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm the youngest of the first of 8 and the younger sister of my beautiful sister who just spoke. As you'll notice, we look really similar, so I'm sorry if you thought the same person doubled back and went twice again. But, you know, like my sister said, it's not like we're always going to be celebrating Angela. We're not going to walk out these doors today and go, I miss her, I'm done. Like the Nitsky album, you guys know what I'm talking about. Retired from SAD, new career business. I'm looking at you, Victor, econ major. But we're always going to be celebrating Angela's life. You know, a few years down the road, we're going to see something where you go, Angela, oh, and you're going to get a little sad, but you're going to get happy because it's sad right now. And like Connor said earlier, you're going to have those little moments where you're like, I recognize that. Is that my mom on the other side helping me? Is that Angela? You're going to be super happy. And as my mother said, and as my father said, and as my sister said, my family was very close to Angela. I'd say out of most of the families, it was definitely the sisters and especially Angela, particularly for me, my brother David, because Victor is just 10 years older than David. I get my numbers mixed up. And I'm just a few months older than Diana. So every year, maybe twice a year, we just get together and it's been for a few weeks. And we're always so sad, we're like, oh, they should come over more. No, they're not here with us this holiday. Okay, we can get them the next one. And it's always been I've always been jealous of my sister for being able to live so close to Angela. I was like, no, I'm sorry, other aunts and uncles, but Angela was the favorite. I'm gonna say it over the pulpit, no words regretted. I may not have said it before when, she was with us, and very regretfully, but she was the favorite. And I loved her. I've sat here for the past week just thinking of her, and I remember that Wednesday I'd gotten home from school early because it was an early out day and all that, and I was sitting in my bed and I was about to take a nap, and my mom texted my brother David. He was about to start his class, and he texted me, he's like, happy birthday, Christopher, because it was also my brother's birthday. Very sad. And I was just about to go take a nap and I got a notification, and that time at me, Angela left us. And I was like, did I read that right? Let me lay down, rest, wake up, maybe I'm hallucinating. This can't be right. So I laid down, I closed my eyes, I took a nap, I hear my dad, Jack, Jack. It was only us home. Why is he calling for me? It's like 3 in the afternoon. So I go down, it's my dad. You know, if you know my dad when he's working and you've seen him, he's business on top, party on the bottom. He's got the white dress-up shirt and the gym shorts and tennis shoes on because they can't see the bottom half, so he might as well. And he asked if I had heard the news, and I was like, what news? And he's like, Angela has left us. And I was like, it wasn't a prank. I had suddenly felt very regretful for taking that nap. I don't know why I'm laughing. My favorite aunt had passed away. I thought it was a prank. My mom was pranking us for whatever reason. And so I took out to take a nap instead of checking in with my beloved cousins, my beloved uncle, my mom and my dad and my family. I laid down to just reset instead. I felt very regretful for that because she touched all of us, like someone else had said before, but she loved many and she was loved by many. You know, recently also when I was scrolling on my feed, like other older people do, you know, well not other older people, but as you can see, I'm a screenager, as some might call me. I was just scrolling and I saw that Angelina Jolie recently had like an interview with someone. I was like, recently? She hasn't had movies. And they asked if she was studying to be a funeral director. And you know, Angelina Jolie, very beautiful, she had her classic smile and she went, yes, I thought they were doing it wrong. Because her grandpa had died when she was younger and she went to the funeral and she's like, I don't like the way they're doing this. This is not a celebration. This is just sad, you know, and obviously things went a different track and she's a favorite movie star, but I kind of want to bank off of that, you know, this is a celebration of life. It doesn't end here with this funeral, it doesn't end in a week. We're going to be celebrating her until we see her again. Like it's a non-stop party, sort of.
You're here!
Party later! But, you know, BYOB or whatever, but looking at you, Victor, college student, you know what I'm talking about.
It's hard.
But we really did love Angela. And by we, I mean every person in this room. The fact that every single one of you came to remember her, she was loved. And like Nathan said before, she probably is attending her own funeral. Very classic of her. She's probably saying, okay, who's crying the most? Who loved me the most? She's probably sitting on one of these chairs being like, I see you. Wham! Cry now. But she loved us and we loved her. And I'm just sad that I didn't express it more. And I'm sad that I didn't really tell her she was my favorite, because I was like, I can't let her know that she's a favorite. I can't. I should have. But her death was a shock and it was very unfortunate.
I don't know how many of you knew me as a child. But if you would have put me on a hamster wheel, I probably could have powered all of Provo. And Angela was the only one that really could match that. I remember as a little kid, I was going. I had more energy than I knew what to do with. And throughout my Aunt Angela's life, she mirrored that, except she knew what to do with all the energy that she had. She never lost her childlike energy. The most recent experience I have from her is the Advent calendar that my Aunt Cheryl was talking about. And I have two small children. I have a 2-year-old and a 15-month-old. And my 2-year-old now, because she didn't just send an Advent calendar, and any parents who have small children or parents who have had small children know, maybe the most terrifying gift to get in the mail is 2 giant bags of candy that are meant specifically for your toddler. So we put our candies in a bin, and for the last couple of weeks, my son has asked, can I have a candy from Aunt Angela? And she very quickly became his favorite aunt as well. And every night through our Advent calendar, he'll run up to us. We always give it to him pretty close to bedtime, and he'll grab my hand and say, Dad, a candy from Aunt Angela? And it's the most precious thing and the most precious way that I remember her legacy and all of the joy that she brought to my life and the joy that she brings to my children's life. And I'm so grateful that I will get to experience that joy every Christmas. Every time we bring out the decorations, my kids know a candy from Aunt Angela, and I know a candy from Aunt Angela. I loved her so much. I loved her.
Well, I'm from the Garcia side of the Tolman family. And so they would come to New Mexico, as somebody mentioned, every once in a while. Now, when Angela was a little girl, there was an incident at the house, and there was a candle that kind of flipped over, and the bedroom went on fire. And Angela took the heat for that. Probably correctly, I'm sure. But a few years later, when she came to visit, in my inimitable tender avuncular way, I said, oh, so you're the little arsonist in the family. And she was shocked, wasn't quite sure how to respond, but she recovered very quickly. And then she glanced over at her mother, knowing that her mother was going to scold me appropriately. Elegance personified.
I'm the favorite cousin on the Tolman side. And so I feel for Angela as being the favorite aunt, because we make it so that we are. When Angela was just a baby, Kirk and Francis invited me to stay in their home for a while. Now, if you can imagine, there's already 8 people in this house, and this was before they added on to it, and they bring in another person. But I loved to hold Angela. She loved to go. She loved to laugh, and she was just just a baby. I remember one time I was going to a singles ward at church, and I said, let me take the kids with me. And Francis goes, you sure you want to do that? I said, sure. She said, well, Angela can be a little fussy during church. I said, that'll be a problem, not be a problem. It was not a problem. All of the kids sat perfectly quiet, the 6 of them. Angela was content to stay in my arms and just cuddle. And I remember times, the Tolman side of the family, when we got together for Christmas, you think 8 kids were a big bunch. And my grandfather was the oldest of 15. And our Christmases were just so full of fun and laughter. And I remember Angela especially, Cheryl, liked to climb on things and things. She was always crawling up on walls and everywhere, and we had to kind of watch her to make sure she didn't crawl over a fence or down the cliff or something. Angela was the other way. She was content to just kind of be in the room. She liked to play games, and I'm sure I felt a little bit of that competitive spirit, even though I was a little bit older than her. Well, okay, a lot older. But she didn't do it in a way that made you want to slap her. Somehow you wanted to slap a little, say, hey. I was the one that you wanted to slap because I was competitive too. I remember I got together with Angela and Cheryl maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and Angela spent her whole time asking me how I was, finding out what I was doing, making sure my life was going good. And sometimes we had to just stop and say, okay, enough about me, although that's all right. Tell me about you. How are you doing? What's it like traveling so many different places and sharing those pictures? So, yeah, I think she just had that little perfection within her that made you feel like you wanted to be like her. And I love you, Angela. I felt you this last week. And I have the right to do that as the favorite cousin.
I'm Ramesh Shah, Ronak's father. Angela is our daughter-in-law. She's his, she's not was. Her name says it all, Angela. She was angel in our family. In 2003, Ronak and Angela got married. We have many, many good memories. From day one, Angela was so respectful to me, and I repeatedly told her, I said, I'm not your father-in-law, I'm your friend. We used to fight. Fight for what? She says, I'm taller than you. said, no, I'm taller than you. And then we go to the wall and make a mark. But that's Angela. We did a lot of things together. The most memorable trip to India with Kika. And Angela was about maybe 5 months pregnant with Diana. And there was a wedding of my niece, she's here. Mega and Harsh, their wedding. And she enjoyed Indian wedding so fully. She danced, she ate a lot, and even spicy, she didn't care. She loved the food. Kika danced a lot, and in a good memory, we went to Taj Mahal, and we did traveling in a state called Rajasthan, and all the palaces we saw. Lots of good memory. Victor was about 2-year-old, and we did traveling in the train, in the bus, in the private car, rent a car. We made the best out of it. We had a cruise, Disney cruise we did together, and did snorkeling together. All the memories are here. And to really reflect who is Angela, a small incident happens in every family once in a while. I was in St. Louis, maybe 8-9 years ago, and Victor liked ice cream. And I make ice cream for him, called queso pistache, like a saffron and pistachio ice cream. So I made ice cream, Victor, and I eat ice cream almost every night. And so one night, around 9 o'clock, I opened the freezer drawer. We had the ice cream. I don't know if Victor remembers or not. We had ice cream. We went to sleep. In the morning, when I woke up, and the whole freezer was empty. And I asked Angela, I said, what happened? The freezer was full with all the food and the freezer is empty. She said, oh, never mind, nothing. So apparently, by mistake, I did not close the freezer door at night. And so Angela emptied out all the food and just went to the trash. I felt so guilty. What a small mistake I did. I didn't even close the freezer door and all the food got to the waste. You know what Angela did? I thought she would be angry at me a little bit. She would make a face, some sort of, that I may not like. I was feeling guilty. Yes. She came and hugged me. And that's Angela. She said, we will have all the fresh grocery. So we'll replace it. Don't worry about it. So she made it so smooth. My guilt, I did not feel guilty at all. So that reflects Angela. We love her. We'll miss her. We'll miss her. But she's not gone. She's in our heart. We'll remember her every day. She lived her life nicely. I would say Rona took care of her so nicely. She lived good life, but short life. Maybe God needed her more than we need her here. And that's the compromise. Thank you.
Well, with a haircut like this, I fit into the family somehow. I may not be the favorite cousin, but I am the most responsible cousin. If they learned a bad habit, if they learned a new word, if they learned something to do that was really fun, that was mostly illegal, I'm not an only child, but my own siblings are all much older than I am. So I got to become 8.5. The thing that struck me the hardest about Angela is that when she was a child, she garnered the nickname Lala. And for many people, we grew up out like this. But she continued to grow into it. No matter where she was, what she was doing, she was Lala. And she was better at it than she was before. And I'm just so grateful that I had Lala in my life.
Hey there, y'all. I'm Victor, oldest of two. I think technically the founding member of the Fearsome Foursome. So, and Angela's son. My entire life has been filled with moments of my mother, and I could list dozens off the top of my head. She talked me through my first breakup. She, gosh, talked me through numbers of school assignments and so many other things that I don't really have time to name. But one of the funniest memories that I have with her, I'll share two, I think. One day in our house back in Kirkwood, an entire packet of Oreos went missing. And of course, right, being a young child and another young child, the blame naturally fell on me and my sister Diana, right? And of course, we both denied it, right? I was certain that Diana was guilty. Diana was certain that I was guilty, because neither of us had actually eaten that entire packet of Oreos, right? Come to find out, minutes later, as we were talking things through, Dad walks in and he was like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And Mom was like, "These two kids ate an entire pack of Oreos." It was Dad. And this is an issue that's been going on for a while. We used to have to hide entire buckets of popcorn from you because he would go through them. We actually had to take them out of the bag and put them in yogurt containers because that's the one place that he would never look. Right? You hate yogurt with your life and your soul. And that's just kind of how life was with Mom. It was a simple joy to have her in your life, to be able to go through it with her. one of now my fondest memories of her is I was learning how to drive, right? As 16-year-olds tend to do. I was a little bit on the later end of the year getting it done. And we were practicing parallel parking in the parking lot. And I'd been doing it for like half an hour, and I had finally managed to get it a couple of times. And this was in my dad's old Audi, and it still had your iPod hooked up to it, right? It's filled with tons and tons of music that you loved, that Mom loved, and I think you have it sitting on your desk back at home right now. I really want to get those playlists. But we took a break and we just started listening to music off that iPod that I don't think we'd listened to in years, right? I mean, we got Apple CarPlay now, we got Android Auto. People don't really listen to music off of iPods anymore. But we took a listen through and Mom's playlist was on there. And we played a few songs and we just started singing along in the empty parking lot, just the two of us. And that's one of the sweetest memories that I have with my mother, right? She was joy in our lives and will still be present in it. She raised me to be the person that I am today, and I'm going to carry a piece of her with me throughout the rest of my life. She'll be in my heart whenever I graduate college. She'll be in my heart whenever I graduate med school, whenever I get married, whenever I have kids. And I am so lucky that she is the one that I had the privilege of having as mother.
There were just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Angela loved her in-laws very much. Ramesh mentioned her trip to India. Angela related a story to me about that trip that I guess they were in the airport or recently leaving the airport, and there was an official there that was giving her or them a hard time. I'm not sure. But Ramesh took Angela forward and told this man, "This is my daughter-in-law. This is her first trip to India, and you are making a very bad impression on her." And Angela was very impressed with how he handled that situation and got his way with this official. I'm the sibling just above her, so she was my little sister. I missed her wedding. I had already met Ronak, he already had my seal of approval, but I was in law school at the time. I had been preparing for a competition in Europe, and their wedding fell on that same weekend, so I wasn't able to make it, and she jokingly never let me live that down. So I was always, trying to make up for that fact. She spent her last few months, she spent in the hospital a lot. And I got to spend much of the last couple weeks of her life with her in the hospital. And her prognosis was very optimal. Everything was looking up. She was cancer-free for the first time in years, and by all accounts, it wasn't going to be back anytime soon, if at all. She had a very optimistic outlook about how things would be. She was recovering and getting better. And even though this all came as a shock, I'm glad that her last few weeks were full of optimism and increasing health. And yeah, she, even though this came as a shock, she had a good few weeks at the end.
I was ready. I was ready. Okay, start talking, Angela. So I'm Kenny. I've been Angela for almost 30 years. If Mara's 8.5, I'm definitely 9. We met in 3rd grade when I moved into the school. And everyone knows the story, I think, but she came up to me at recess, the first morning recess, and she said, "There's been a mistake. You've been assigned the wrong friend." She said, "I'm supposed to be your friend. And come with me. I'll introduce you to whoever you need to know." She sounds great. So I'm gonna come with her. We were 8. One of the first things we ever did is we decided we wanted to learn how to bake by ourselves at my house. And we decided we were gonna bake a from scratch carrot cake. And so we sat there and like shredded carrots for like hours. And like crushed all the water out. It took us like 5.5 hours to make this cake because we had no supervision. So, I don't think I've ever made a carrot cake since. I'm worried about all the work. We wanted to use the jacuzzi that was at my house, and we thought my mom would say no. And so we thought if we were really, really, really dirty and needed a bath, she would have to say yes. And so we went out back and rolled around in the garden in our clothes and covered ourselves in mud and checked each other, make sure that we had covered all the spots with mud, and then went back in and showed my mom. My mother was like, "Wait, why? We want to use the jacuzzi." She hosed us off. I'm sure she went home to the Tolmans like a mud cake, and they still let her come over. In high school, at Timpview, there was a big patio, and right by the place where you would eat lunch. And when it would snow, they'd push all the snow up right next to the big windows there. So there was maybe like a 20-foot pile of snow. So we would be sitting in the little sunken-in area eating our lunch and staring at that snow pile, and decide to go outside and play King of the Mountain, like all. Her mom was, and we would just destroy each other and throw each other down the hill and just smash snow in each other's faces. And it was not gentle and elegant. And then we were sopping wet and then had to go to class, which we hadn't thought through. So we took off our socks and shirts we could take off or whatever and hung over our locker like a laundry line and let our dripping and went to class barefoot. And so I remember coming back out of class and just seeing, as Jenny Lynn was with us too, and just seeing 3 lockers in a row with laundry hanging. I could like tell you 100 million stories of Angela. Like, I think it's very rare that you get to find someone who we just love each other so much that as you change throughout life, that you can stay so compatible. And we just loved each other so much. And I just loved hearing Nathan this morning was talking about he had the room opposite Angela's, and he was talking about our sleepovers and how we would just giggle and giggle and giggle, and Papacito would have to come in. Girls, girls, you have to go to sleep. He threatened to separate us, but never did. But it was nice to hear someone else have that memory too of us just laughing and laughing and laughing. I guess we were keeping him up. What I've come to realize is that in all the silliness and in the adventures and in the acceptance of all the silliness, that there was such an acceptance of who each other were, that no idea was too silly. You know, no idea was too outrageous. No idea was too big. You know, she wanted to be an astronaut when she was little, and like really wanted to be an astronaut when she was little, and like till she was like 16 or something like that. And I believed her. I 100% believed she was going to be an astronaut. And when she found out she was going to have to join the military, possibly kill people, she had to give up that dream because she couldn't do it. She was like, I would never be able to kill anyone, Candy. I'm like, why? No, that makes sense. And so it was hard for her to give up that dream. And one of the thoughts we've been having at my house is that I know she's an angel. I know, I've always known that. But we also think she might be a part-time astronaut right now. I think she would really like that. And my daughter came to me and said, if she's an astronaut, Mom, where do you think she would explore? Where, you know, would she do planets? Would she do stars? Would she do like far out of space? I said, well, I think far out of space. And she said, and also Angela very much believed in energy, in the energy that we all have and everything. And so I said, I think she'd be in far outer space looking for other energy beings. And then Kara asked me, do you think she'll find a way to let you know if she finds one? I said, yeah, for sure. She would come back and tell me. She'd come. Some things you may not know about her. In 9th and 10th grade, you know, my mom had some mental health issues and she was declining and we were low on money. And so Angela, every day for 2 years, split her sandwich with me. Didn't say a word. She just split her sandwich. And we each ate half a sandwich every day. And I was telling Ronnie last night that, you know, about 10 years ago when I started having my kids, you know, we were talking about how I can't imagine that there are little kids out there, you know, who can't eat school lunch or their parents or were like my parents and couldn't, you know, do the applications for free lunch or whatever. And what should we do about it? So in my town, we've been covering negative school lunch balances in her name for 10 years. And I was telling Vernon about it. She didn't even tell Vernon. And she was just so humble. She would never brag that, you know, that she had inspired an impact like that. And when Ange died, several people in our town know her, like know about her story, and know she's the reason why we do that in our town. Is we cover the negative school lunch balances, and she had started doing it too. When I went to BU, I moved out. I was 18. I moved out. I had delayed a semester going. I was going to start in January, and so for August to January, before I went to college, I lived with the Tolmans, and I shared Angie's room, and I slept on her floor, and it was hard. And so she knew that, so she would rotate with me. So sometimes she slept on the floor. And I brought it up to her like last year, we were together, and I just told her, I said, this is so meaningful to me that you would do that. I just always, it was one of my most cherished gifts you ever gave me. And she said she didn't remember it. And I said, and that is just so like you, that it's so second nature for you to sleep on the floor for your friend. That it's not memorable to you because you're just so giving. And it made it even more special to me. She's just, her nature, as people have said, is so giving, so kind, but not one you would take advantage of. She had a steel backbone and just such an inner strength that she was so inspiring. We were talking this morning. She had the most beautiful way of holding her boundaries. Her latest one was, I don't think I can sign up future Angela for that. I couldn't argue with that. It's a lovely way of saying no. So I just wanted to let you know some of those things. So, you know, I just was so grateful to have had Angela in my life. I was so grateful she married Ronak. I'm so glad they had each other. I loved watching them love each other. I loved knowing she was okay and well taken care of, and I loved watching her be a mother. She was so good at it, and I was telling the kids earlier that it was unique to me that not only was she proud of her children and loved her children and did everything for them, but I watched her admire her children. She saw them as their own people, and she would tell me about their traits, and you know, Victor's sweetheart and Diana's strength, and she would say, Candy, you have to spend more time with Diana. You know, she needs to know strong women, you know, and she's a strong woman, and she was so proud of that. And you're surrounded by strong women here. You come from a long heritage of strong women and tender-hearted people. And I really love her said that she gave you those gifts. That was really well said. You'll see that again and again in yourselves. You'll see it again and again in your children. She'll live on through you guys. I can't imagine how awesome it would be to have her as a mom. I'm just, she's just the best. So I just wanted to tell you those stories and tell her I love her. And she promised to visit me, and I think she has already. But mainly, which I think she's been with you guys. I know that's where she is right now. I love you.
Hello, my name is Nicole. I consider myself a Tolman as well. I am married to Matthew. I had a memory of Angela that I wanted to share. So I still swear to this day that Angela knew right when she's like, Matt had insisted I not tell anybody about my pregnancy with Hope for, until we were out of the danger zone, out of the first trimester. Angela somehow knew as soon as she saw me that I was pregnant. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the few subtle little hints that I dropped, but she just seemed to know. And the next time I saw her, she, I want to say blindsided me with a baby shower, but I will say she surprised me with a baby shower. I was very surprised. Via Skype with all of her sisters, she did some of that scheming that Catherine was talking about, got together with her siblings, so let's surprise her with a baby shower. That's when Skype and video calling was still in its infancy, so we didn't get through very much of it. But I got a lot of wonderful gifts that day from her and her sisters and Victor. So Faith and you did a little scheming of your own. And Faith, I say scheming, it was all Faith. It was my oldest daughter, Faith, convinced Victor to give me his life savings as a baby shower gift. So he walks out with his straight back with this big bag of coins, sure his whole piggy bank full of them, and with a bit of what she would call to this day a warbly chin, because you were giving me your whole life savings, which was very hard for you. You just stood with a straight back and you handed me that bag of coins proudly, and that was your gift to me. And I'm seeing you walk away a little bit, with some red eyes and a warbly chin, because you just lost your whole life savings to give to me as a gift. So I was kind of like, oh, thank you so much, Victor. Wait till you walked away. Here you go, Angela. I have this back, and it's so sweet of him, just so giving. So yeah, I have that fond memory of that and the baby shower and that kindness that she did me and that Victor did me. I also have another memory of you, Victor. When I was meeting you guys for the first time, you guys came to Matt's downtown Chicago apartment with Happy Meals. And you had saved your fries. You wanted to save them for later. Fries were a special thing, so you set your Happy Meal on the counter and you started playing with your little Happy Meal toy. And then later you go back to your Happy Meal box and you look inside and you're like, "Where's my fries? Mom, what happened to my fries? Where's my fries, Mom?" And she was talking to Matt at the time, so she kind of, ignored you a little bit at first, or maybe it's just that she didn't want to tell you she had eaten your fries. And she's like, "Yes, I ate your fries, dear." Crossed your arms, you pouted. You got really upset and just started bawling. She had to comfort you because she'd eaten your prized fries that you were saving for later. So So it's kind of a funny little memory I have too. And I'm also really, really glad that I got to hear some of these memories today, because I already see Angela in my 12-year-old Hope. I look at pictures of Angela as a young teenager, and the similarities are insane. Like she looks a lot like Angela in her early years, but also the personality traits that Angela had of wanting to serve, wanting to be servants for her siblings, wanting to do these services and make these meals for them and do everything else, because that's something that my youngest Claudia has, where, people will come over, I'll be babysitting for my nieces and nephews, and she'll set up papers on the table for them to draw. She'll set up snacks for them, and she has that same, like, service-oriented personality where she just wants to entertain everybody who comes over and wants to serve them in some way. And also that story about her hiding behind the curtains and pretending she's not there and then bursting out to surprise them. I'll call Claudia, and I'll walk into a room to try and find her. Look around, don't see any Claudia. And then on the couch, I'll notice this writhing lump of a blanket. And then she'll pop out and surprise me. So I'm glad I heard these stories, and I'm glad to see that, in a way, Angela is, living on through, her brother's children and my children. And Angela was a very, very bright life, giving soul, beautiful, beautiful woman. When we heard about Angela the same day, my oldest daughter, Faith, she's not blood, but Angela always treated her like blood, so Faith absolutely loves her. And we were looking through some of the gifts that we got from her last Thanksgiving, because she would hand around this plastic ball with all these gifts wrapped in them, like money, just really cool little trinkets that she had found somewhere, and she'd wrap them up, and all the kids would take turns, tearing through it and getting all these little prizes. So we were looking through some of those to remember her, and we were reading her obituary and passing it back and forth to each other, because we'd read a couple of sentences and we'd burst into tears, and then we'd have to hand it off just to read it and get through it. We kept having to hand it back and forth. So yeah, we think about her a lot, and we've been missing her. And I'm really sad that I won't be able to make any more memories with her. And I love you, Angela. You were definitely one of the best.
I'm also from the Garcia side. And the memory I have is traveling with Angela. She was great at that. But one of the last trips we took, she and her mom got in cahoots about the dinner we had. They used to share, but they would eat half their dinner and then trade plates. And so they get to have two of the wonderful meals we got on that trip. And then the last night I think we were on the boat, we didn't hear a peep out of them, not a single peep. And the rest of us were talking about our food and all. And when they finished, they told us that theirs was I think it was Angela that had the spaghetti, and I think you had a steak. Yeah. Anyway, they had gone in cahoots because they didn't want us to know until after it was gone how wonderful the spaghetti was. It had a slightly spicy green sauce on it that was just absolutely magnificent. But we didn't know that, but they told us about it. And there were several of us there. So we called we asked, could we have an extra meal? I mean, could we just share a bowl here? We want to taste that spaghetti. And we all did they did come out, the chef came out because it was wonderful. I wish I had the recipe. But it was wonderful traveling with Angela. And I really loved her too. But the cahoots part,
My name is David. I'm Victor and Diana's cousin. I'm the closest in age with Victor. He's 10 days older than me. He got me there. I'm really gonna miss Angela. I remember growing up, always, like Jack told you guys, asking my parents, like the holiday season, are Victor and Diana and Angela and Ronak coming over this year? Every year without fail, little disappointment when they said no. Huge excitement between me and Jack when they said yes. I really looked forward to seeing Angela every year. And I've appreciated all of the stories that you've been able to share today, and that we've all been able to share. Angela's kindness, and her light, and her service. And this really is a celebration of her life, and I'm really looking forward, moving forward, even though she's not with us, like others have talked about. Angela lives on in her legacy with Victor and Diana. I really do see Angela's kindness through Victor and her strength through Diana. And I see her kindness and seeing how she has touched each and every one of you with her life. And I look forward to these future years. I'm going to miss Angela, but I look forward to seeing her through each and every one of you until I get to see her again in the life to come. Thank you.
Dimitri. Some of you know me as Deemer, dear friend of Ronak's from Boston, from college, Boston University. And I had just a couple stories I wanted to share. I don't think any of these will surprise any of you who've known Angela far longer than we had the good fortune to. But they're kind of how many of us from the Boston area, Boston crew, got to know her over the years, and how we realized what just a unique and vibrant and amazing person that she was. yeah, just to give you the background, there's a number of us here today. We met at Boston University in college, and had the good fortune, met Ronak early on, dear friend, and just after I graduated, it was hearing him describe this girl he met, obviously head over heels, and I hadn't met her yet at that point. I left for grad school before I had the chance to meet her for the first time. And for those of you who know Ronak, I think it was fair to describe, maybe the best way to put it, he has a robust personality. His stories can fill a room, right? And I think the first time I met Angela, I think it was a get-together at Orchard Street, if I'm not mistaken. I was struck by how well she wasn't overshadowed by his storytelling, by his spirit, but rather she had this quick wit and could kind of riff off, with one-liners and insights and the occasional Mr. Burns hands that I think I walked out of there and she's the one for him, because there was just this, it wasn't, I don't want to give the wrong impression that it was competitive. It wasn't. They like lift each other up. They were better because of each other. And that was something, makes your heart, you feel it. But not to say that she did have that awesome, competitive streak, because we used to, in the years that followed, we took a number of trips. There was a friend would lend us a vacation house in Vermont, and we took quite a few trips to. We went to Douglas, Mass for a group vacation. It was awesome. Years later, cruise to Alaska. And on these trips, there was something, two quick stories. So there were these, in the earlier days, and this has sort of been put to rest by many of the significant others, we had these games of risk that would break out. I think break out is probably the best way to put it. And these could go for hours. And were often quite bitter rivalries. I think there's some grudges still held to this day. But typically, in these games, the girlfriends and then later the wives would often steer clear, because who wants to play Risk for 6 hours and then argue for another 6 about the cheating. Angela was the only of the partners who could not only gladly join in the game, but often come through for a victory. So and do it with absolute grace, whereas not all of us have the same quality. She could win without gloating, which was really something. And but the other aspect of those trips, especially as we sort of family started to grow and we were taking these trips with babies, toddlers, and eventually young real people, right? She was the one. There was like a glue. I don't know how to describe it elegantly. So. And I hate public speaking, so this is unfortunately the best you're going to get. But she was the one who remembered, without, I think, just instinctively, what the favorite snack of everyone's kids were. When we were making the grocery runs, we'd get to the house, a couple of people would run out to the store. She's mental list knew what snacks to get, what treats to get. She had the games for the kids when it was unexpectedly raining. Those were magical. Trips, and she made it. There was like a cohesion there that happened when she was around. And last bit, and then I'll clear out of here. I could stay up here much longer, but we did a trip must have been about 10 years ago. We visited you guys down in Missouri. So we this is my wife and boys and myself. We go down and visit these guys in Kirkwood, and we pull up to the house, and there's I don't even know how to describe. I've never been welcomed like this before. There's a giant table in your driveway. I don't know if you remember this. Wrapped in ribbons, balloons, helium balloons, bundles,
hanging up there, a giant sign welcoming us, right? I don't know what the neighbors must have thought who was coming to visit. I have never been welcomed anywhere before or since. Right? It was the kind of little touch, right? I'm assuming, Ronak, this was 99 or 100% Angela. But it's the kind of thing that you know, she didn't make a big deal of it. It was just there. But that was the sort of magic that happened when she was around. So anyway, love you guys. I'm so sorry to be here.
I have something nobody else has mentioned. Angela and Matthew were fencers. They would fence. They would practice together. And they came in second when they were working out for the Olympics. I was so proud of them. They fought with, fenced. They fenced with college students. They did very, very well. They just came in, they did come in second. I was thinking of all of the things that Angela did. Yes, she made, I was in the kitchen one day and she was making some cereal and I said, "Are you going to have breakfast with me?" And she said, "No, I'm going to take this to Matthew." She was only 3. I have lots of memories of Angela, especially on that trip that I took to India with her while she was expecting. We were with Victor and we were also with Diana. I got to sit in the back, the very back of the car, and I got to entertain him, Victor, while we were driving. Make him happy. Show him all the rickshaws, the camels, the elephants. And he would point things out to me, too. If it wasn't enough, I had things I read to him. But he also would entertain the car for some reason, and nobody knows why. He would say, as soon as his grandmother sneezed, he'd say, "Nani sneezed." And then she'd cough, and he'd say, "Nani coughed." And she did this all day long. He never missed anything she did. He didn't do it to anyone else. I had him in the car, but Ramesh had him while we were out of the car. So he would have instruct the driver to look for ramps, and if there was a ramp, we'd stop and we'd let Victor run up and down the ramp, which he would just delightful squeals of joy and laughter. Along with Ramesh, she was just a squealing and We had a lot of fun. Yes, Angela was special. I remember when she was born, we had the crib with us in the room. And yes, when I would pick her up, I would always say, "My precious." And that was her first word. She wasn't very old. She was probably maybe 7 months old. And she would come to me and say, "Precious." She loved her brothers and sisters, all of them. All of them were special too. Each one of them have very special qualities. But all of us agree that Angela was really an angel. I love her very much. And yes, she is around us. She is looking after us. And she's happy.
Hi, I'm Hannah. You look like Auntie. We were talking about, I knew her when we were little. And so since she came up to Candy and said she was going to be her friend, she must have came up to me too, because I joined their group. And she was just light. And I didn't have a lot of light in my life at that time. And the mischievous, she said, that's what I remember about her. We'd sit at recess and come up with ideas and just laugh. And I still have her light in me. Because I came to a point in my life where I was able to visit her again. I haven't seen her in 10 years, and before that, because we didn't really see each other much in high school. And I was really excited to see her, so I was sad when I heard the news, but she's been coming to me, and I could feel her light and legacy. She gave it to me. And you, her mother, one time, I don't know if you remember, because we were in the same ward. And so we were coming home from a retreat once, and it was backed up on the freeway for hours. And so you said, let's get out of the car and go look for rocks by the river. And I had never done that, like just being out in nature. And so you were looking at them, and Angie encouraged me, come on, look at it. And she held them up in the light. And you were just sitting off, and you were more like you guys reminded me of fairies. It was just a magical moment by the river, and I got to see stones and the glitter through the sun because of her. And she was just sitting there so happy. And so I'm really grateful that she came into my life and knows me and got to spread her love to me. I feel very special.
I wanted to thank everyone for coming. Maybe the weekend would be a celebration of life. This part was hard. So, Angela wrote instructions on what she wanted to do if she happened to pass. She'd really been at peace with the concept of it for a long time. But the liver transplant that she was going to go under, that she did November 5th, thanks Matt, made her put it down on paper. So in those instructions, she talked about a bunch of things, wanting her ashes spread in the mountains of Utah, close to here in the mountains, about the canyon, where we could all come to visit and just be with her. But she didn't leave any instructions for the funeral. She said she was not leaving any instructions for the funeral. She really wanted it to be something that would give closure to everyone who cared for her and who loved her. And I hope these stories did that for many of you. So on March 18th this year, she and I celebrated the 25th anniversary of the day we met. Maybe a little bit before then, we'd actually spent more of our lives together in each other's love than we had spent apart. Even with that, I'd only known facets of Angela in that half a life that I'd been blessed to spend with her. Those stories you told, it gives me a more full picture of her life, and I think hopefully it does the same for my kids. I hope knowing her better gives us all closure. So I'm the one who's going to close it off. There's some facets of Angela that I think I saw better than most. And these are my stories to tell. Love, determination, and sacrifice. She loves our kids. All mothers do. But for her, it was such pride in who they were as people. She took such delight in their little quirks. And kids, I'm sorry, I can't look at you right now because it's hard not to cry. But she took such delight in them as people and all the little things that made them them. You know, she remembered and would tell the story about how when Victor was 3 years old, and he would get himself all riled up and be about to have a tantrum, and he would go and put himself in timeout. And how Diana would always play the long con game with us. Whenever something small went bad, like Victor would trip or we'd stub our toe or something, she'd come up and say, "It's my black magic." And after a while, when something bad would happen, we'd all kind of look at her. Because we blame her for her black magic. That was from Rainbow Bright. I'm not really sure where that came from, but somehow that stuck. She said that our kids were her life's work. And I see it. We see so much of ourselves in them. But what we see is the best vision of the two of us. All of Angela's morality, none of my expedience. Both of our brains, and all of her spirit. She was so proud of you too. Loves you so much. Determination. She was the most determined person I've ever known. From when I first met her, which was when she was considering coming to Boston, Candy and Matt threw a crew together, and we took Angela out on a drunken night around town, trying to convince her to move to Boston. That was the plan. We were all, perhaps save Candy, shocked when 3 months later she actually moved to Boston. But it was when she got sick that I really saw her strength and her determination. Stage 4 metastatic colon cancer has statistically an 18% 5-year survival rate. But inside that 18%, there's a wide range of situations. And with her extremely high amount of liver metastases, her chances were not very good. And we learned that in about 20 minutes in Cancun of Googling, and then said, we're never going to Google anything ever again. But she never doubted that she was going to beat it. She researched everything. Over those 2 years, she threaded a needle with her care, the treatment at MD Anderson, and then quitting the greatest cancer center that exists in the world and going to Sloan Memorial to get a very specialized treatment. Went there every 2 weeks to New York. she never lost hope. She was never, almost never weak. I'm embarrassed of my weakness when I say that for a long time, I did not have hope. For her, the only time she felt weak once in a while was when it was really hard at the hospital. And it was never a lack of determination or a lack of hope. It was just being so tired and being sick. Just for a moment. But when those words would break me, that's when I knew that whole time I was relying on her strength to keep me up. Strength of my little 5-foot-tall, beautiful wife was what it took to keep me up. Through force of will, she made it to transplant. Through her brother's superhero gift, she beat that cancer. She was cancer-free through pathology reports and healing well. I think she knew the whole time that that's what was going to happen. She had it planned out years in advance. She was always going to beat it. She was determined. I couldn't write the last part without crying. I almost feel like I have to disassociate myself a little bit to be able to say it out loud right now. Sacrifice. Most of us are selfish. To drown your own wants in the service of someone else's is unnatural to almost all of us. Angela sacrificed so much in the time that I knew her. Before we got engaged, she planned to live in Australia for 6 months after she graduated college, touring and working her way around the continent. I was in London at the time, and I couldn't live much longer without her around. So I convinced her to come move to England with me, and promised her a month-long honeymoon in Australia, which isn't the same. But she sacrificed. She was so brilliant, but she put her career on hold when we were pregnant with Victor. She sacrificed in a small way. She started a travel agent business several years ago, and in no time was wildly successful, but got so busy that she chose to shut it down because she didn't have enough time for us. Always she sacrificed. Some mess over by my chairs and napkins. It's almost Christmas, and we would always listen to the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York. You can barely hear that song now. But there's a part that I'm reminded of Angela. You took my dreams from me when I first found you. But honey, I kept them with me, babe. And I put them with my own. Can't make it all alone. I've built my dreams around you. transplant, we were filled with hope. We talked of all the trips we would take, and we talked about the future again. We talked about the kids growing up. We talked about where the sacrifice we made to move to Texas, and the business that I built, and what it allowed us to do, what it let us do for the rest of our lives. So filled with hope. She was torn away from us, from my kids. But Angela would want us to dream. She'd want us to travel and love and be kind and to be family. I promise, babe, we'll always keep dreaming. For you will always be dreaming. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you for sharing your love of Angela with all of us. Thank you for those of you that still have stories that you want to tell and didn't have the time to tell them. We ask that you please write those memories and those thoughts down and share them with Ronak, Victor, and Diane. At this, we come to the conclusion of the service. We're going to close the casket and ask the casket bearers to come up. So I'm first going to close the casket, and then I'll come back up and ask you to stand in reverence. So give me just a moment. Those of you that have been asked to be the pallbearers today, I'm going to have you come line up right by these doors. We will bring the casket to you, and then I'll have you lift as we go out the doors. Would everyone please arise?